Welcome to the Bone Zone. Today we are looking at Four Horsemen Studios' Mythic Legions, Skeleton Legion Builder 2. So these little fellas are on an updated body. This is the same skeleton body that you'll find in the upcoming Necronominous wave. I say upcoming because I'm not sure when that's actually coming out. One day. So yeah, these were an in-stock sale, which meant that Four Horsemen already had them. They went up for order and quickly sold out. We're not usually much for Legion builders, though I think Patrick's gotten a little bit more into them because he likes to have some extras available to take photos with. But we went ahead and got two, as you can see, the Bone Brothers. Typical standard figure Mythic Legions packaging. You can see all the way up in there, much like a skeleton. Got a little bit of information on the side. And the back is a little bit different. Instead of talking about the world of Mythic Legions, this one is talking about the creation of the skeleton builder itself. Very interesting. It's saying that their skeleton builders have always been pretty popular, and so for the 10-year anniversary this year, they wanted to release a new one, an updated one. They also mention honoring stop-motion fantasy skeletons, so stuff like Ray Harryhausen's stop-motion animation. Very touching. It sounded insincere. I need to work on not sounding sarcastic about everything. So let's go ahead and open these. Nothing will humble you quicker than being unable to get a toy out of a simple twist tie packaging. So these guys are pretty cool. I have only just taken them out of the package and put them in this pose. I haven't messed around with them all that much yet, but as you can tell, even I was able to put them in a pretty cute little pose. Nothing dynamic, but very sweet. Yeah, these are cool looking little guys. I will tell you, my favorite part is that the mandible moves. Thank you. So many times there are skeleton figures where the jaw is locked shut when it's really just a simple matter to give it a hinge on the jaw. This one's got a little bit, I don't know if you can see, it's got a little bit of hair from a paintbrush stuck to it. If it were a more refined figure, then that would be a problem, but for like a gross skeleton, it's not that big of a deal. But yeah, the previous Four Horsemen skeletons, I don't think any of their jaws opened. So that's fantastic. Always confused when there's a skeleton figure that can't open its mouth. The paint on these is pretty good. Like I said, it's just a wash. Some aging. You don't really need precise applications when it comes to these. I heard that some people were unhappy with the color because it's a little too white, I guess. But bones can naturally be this white. These are bones that have been out in the sun, exposed to those delicious UV rays, sun-bleached and ready to mingle. Something Patrick pointed out to me that I can't believe I didn't notice, that he says bothers him, but, you know, isn't a deal breaker as far as the figure goes, is that the spine goes straight into the floor of the pelvis. And I hadn't noticed that. When he pointed it out, I was like, oh my god, now that's all I can see. If you compare it to something like the Fwoosh skeleton, you can see that they did it a little bit better, where you have that hole in the pelvis open and the spine just inserts into where the coccyx starts. But the Fwoosh skeleton is much more of a slender boy than this guy. Even the weight disparity is substantial. So I understand the decision to plop that spinal column right down into the center of the pelvis. I understand. I mean, these are fantasy skeleton toys. I mean, these are thick boys anyway, so you're not getting you're not getting a super accurate skeleton out of this, which is fine. They're fantasy monsters. Head is just on a large ball joint, so it gets all sorts of movement. Looks up really well. Chin all the way to chest or sternum. I find myself wanting some neck articulation. This isn't a slight against the figure at all. I just feel like there should be a rock in the neck for some reason. Not necessarily needed, because you get a lot out of this head joint. Big, bony shoulders. You got rotation on that. Rotation on the elbow as well, along with the hinge. Boop. And remember, if your Mythic Legions figures, or Cosmic Legion, or Figura Obscura, whatever, if the figures are giving you trouble, always heat them up before forcing anything so you don't break them joints. Hinge and rotation on the hand. You've got another ball joint up in the cavity of the chest. So not only do you get some turn out of that 360-degree turn, but you get some crunch too. Isn't that cool? High kick, very high kick. The good thing about a skeleton, just a pure skeleton, is that there's no skin, there's no organs, there's no viscera, there's not even any clothing to get in the way of a high kick. These babies can high kick all day long. Looks like there's a pretty big joint on the side of the pelvis, so it should. Oh, nice. Yeah, that's a big hinge. So its leg can go up to the side really high. There's no butt to get in the way, which is a frequent problem we run into with figures. And so the leg can go back all the way as well, though it does go out at a slight angle. Alright, knee. You have pretty good knee hinge. And we've got rotation on that as well. And of course, up and down swivel and a little bit of rock on the feet. So yeah, these guys are capable of a lot of different movement. This one's about to jump in a pool. That's the plus side of a skeleton. It's just a skeleton. There's nothing really to it, and so it should be able to do all sorts of crazy things. There shouldn't be anything holding it back, because once you're a skeleton, what do you have to lose? I guess if you're a magic skeleton, you could always die again, and that would be embarrassing. So, they do come with accessories. Mostly we get hands. Four Horsemen's usually pretty good about the selection of hands we get with these. So we'll have some pointing hands, some holding things hands on a side-to-side axis. And I think these might be punching hands, but it's not the typical kind of fist because there's no flesh, you know, to kind of be in that ball shape. It's like the best the skeleton can do, which is kind of sad. They could also be holding things hands because there's a little slot you can slip stuff in. Listen, he's doing his best. They will come with a shield. Just a simple shield, but it looks really nice. It's bronze, but it's got a little bit of dirt on it. It's got a little bit of green patina. Very nice rivets. Braided handle. He'll come with a Mythic Legion standard, this sash. I always call it a belt, but I think it's supposed to be a sash. It goes across their chests usually. And a sword. So the sword can be placed in this little holster here. But the sword, again, just like the shield, is just a pretty standard sword. It's got a little bit of scuffing on it, a little bit of wear. That bronze color with more green patina, just very slight. And a cool spear. Once again, not much to this, but it looks great. The paint that is on there is applied very well. It's very clean. There's a little bit of brown wear at these pokies, and the metallic of the spear is very nice. There's dog fur on it. There's dog fur on everything. So getting the weapons into the hands should be pretty simple. These hands are pretty rubbery, and these items, the plastic is pretty stiff, so should be no problem there. He looks sassy. Or she. I wonder if you turn into a skeleton, a sentient skeleton, does Ginger still exist? Or are you free from that burden? I mean, you don't even really have to do much with them and they look cool. And even with just these basic weapons, they look pretty awesome. It looks like something a skeleton would pick up and use. So I've got a few other skeletons to compare them to. You'll forgive me if I don't remember the names of these. You will forgive me. So these are Mythic Legion's 1.0 skeletons. These are thick boys for skeletons. These are even thicker boys. Of course, these are also decked out in armor, but from the skull alone, you can tell the difference. The most important thing is that these don't open their mouths. If these guys are sun-bleached, this guy is a little more fresh, I think. There's still some marrow in them bones. He's a little dirty, but you know. Skeletons don't take showers. I mean, technically skeletons do take showers because if you take a shower, you got a skeleton in you, and that skeleton is showering right there too. But when you're just a skeleton, you don't take showers. And this guy, he's been hanging out in like an old crypt. Just everything is rotting and wet. So there's several different flavors to skeleton color. I think they're all beautiful and we should all embrace them. Here again is that Fouche skeleton. Much smaller scale. Much more of a thin boy than a thick boy. But pretty good articulation. If you guys want to take a look at the review I did a while ago, it's a pretty good little figure. And then we have the Boss Fight Studios Green Pirate skeleton. So as you can tell, these guys are much larger. Much larger in stature, more girth in the bones, bony girth. There's a better and more inappropriate joke there somewhere, but I'm too tired to find it. Rounding it out, we've got Mezco's Doc Nocturnal. He's a skeleton guy too. I think his head is a skeleton, it's not just a mask maybe. And he's a slender little guy. So even if Mezco and Mythic Legions don't quite match up, Doc Nocturnal's kind of a short king, so he doesn't really look out of place with these guys. Lastly, we've got Ash Williams, because he fights skeletons like this. It's been a while since I've seen Army of Darkness, but Patrick says these skeletons look just like the Army of Darkness skeletons, and I believe him. Why wouldn't I? So I hope you enjoyed this review. Like I said, these sold out pretty quickly on Four Horsemen's website. From what I understand, there will be a select few available at conventions they're going to, but I think that is it for these for now. They might come out with more, they might do some in a different color, like the colors we saw with the other skeletons. We know that at least one of the Necronominus figures uses the space skeleton. Maximilius, I think is his name. So for now, we just got our 2 Skelly Boys. As always, likes and subscribes are very much appreciated. Comments are more than welcome. I will get to them eventually. And I will see you guys on the next one.